Alrighty guys, hi, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. As always, if you're new here or returning and you haven't yet already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you like any of the videos, give them a big thumbs up and feel free to always leave any comments or opinions down in the comment section. So today is going to be a video that was kind of brought to my attention by someone in my life. So I was recently approached by somebody that I know who knows someone else who's very dear to them who has been adopted, and she asked me about my YouTube channel. She knew I had created one, and I kind of had told her the basis of why I started my channel, and she asked for it. And I told her, you know, what my name was here, and I was curious as to why. I didn't know if maybe she wanted to view my content or if it had something to do with the person who was close to her wanting to view my content. I wasn't sure, so I asked her. I said, you know, this is it, but why are you asking? And she proceeded to tell me that the person who is close to her is kind of in a hard spot. She's a little bit younger than I am, and she has been recently struggling with the questions that a lot of adoptees, depending on your situation, think about. You think about the questions of not belonging. If you have any, especially the age group that she's in, it is, you know, you're struggling with finding yourself, figuring out your identity, developing who you are as a person and your personality. So these questions that she is currently struggling with are ones that I think we all struggle with to some degree at some point in our lives. She, my friend, kind of told me that she was struggling with what happened to her, the reason she was adopted, why she wasn't good enough for her family. Her situation was very different from mine, and it's not my story to tell, but she felt as though she is struggling rather with, you know, feeling like she maybe not be worth other people's time, is the way that I took it. And my friend was trying to give her something to look back on, to see that there are other people who struggle. There are other people who, you know, have experienced adoption or foster care and have had these rough things happen to them, but are able to come out on top. And it might seem weird that I want to, you know, talk about this, but it's a conversation that really could easily, in my opinion, be prevented. Are these questions going to pop up to most adoptees at some point in their life? Yes, we're curious once we become aware that we are adopted, especially if you didn't know about it until you were older. It begs the question as to why I wasn't good enough, why what did I do that caused me to be put in this situation? As an adoptee, I've had these questions in my life before when I was younger and closer to her age, and I understand those questions and feeling like you're not worthy of anything, that if this family couldn't accept you, why would another family accept you long term? And families are supposed to love you no matter what. So if a family's not going to accept you, how are you ever going to have a partner in a successful relationship? How are you ever going to succeed at school or in a career, even if you have had straight A's? Like, unfortunately, this is the path that a lot of adoptees go down. And I don't know how educated people are that this is something that they, as an adoptee myself, that has struggled with. I don't know if it's something that people are aware occur and how to approach these situations, especially from like professionals. I don't know if this is an aspect that they think about. Obviously, there's always typically some kind of professional involved with children who are going through either foster care or adoption, and hopefully that individual will relay that they are feeling those things to a professional. But as I have said multiple times, not everybody is comfortable with saying how they feel. Not everybody is ready to express what they're struggling with or what they're afraid of. Because ultimately, the common fear is rejection. Because we feel that we started off our lives in rejection. Because our biological family or your guardian at the time wasn't able to handle whatever situation it was, which resulted in you no longer being in the home, whether that was an optional, like a decision they made on their own or something that caused intervention. That's where we think. So it's hard to try and be supportive in those things, because unless you've been in it, you really can't provide much than "I'm sorry." And a lot of us don't want to hear that you're sorry. Whether you're not the one who caused that. And it took me a long time to be able to realize, I will always probably have some of those questions because I don't have a way to get answers for them. And I have come to terms with that. But I've also come to terms with knowing, really trying to take myself out of the situation and think of it from the information I knew about my family. Had intervention for me not happened, I know I would not be where I am today. And it took a long time for me to get there. And I'm making this video in case this individual watches this, that you will get through it. Or if anybody else who is struggling in the adoptee community, or if you're a foster parent or an adoptive parent and you are struggling with the child going through these things, the best thing you can do is just let them know that you're there for them, not apologize for their scenario, it's fine to be empathetic with an adoptee who is struggling. But for me, this is my personal experience, it means a lot more when people offer to be there for me when I am ready. It doesn't help to be pushed into talking about things. Whether it's with somebody you trust or a professional, no one wants to be forced to talk about something so impactful. So I would advise not to push anybody. And that shouldn't even just go to adoptees. That should go to anybody in your life. If you see anybody is struggling in any kind of capacity, like just offering your support in the sense of, when you need me, I am here, I am always here, and just reminding them of that pretty regularly is going to be more helpful, because they may build that trust to actually talk to you. Not that it's a trust issue between the two of you, but it's a trust issue within the individual to want to share what they are experiencing, because oftentimes it's hard to explain how we're feeling, especially those ways. Like, nobody wants to come out and say, I don't feel worthy, especially, they feel that they're going to have to try and explain themselves. There are times in my life today where I don't always feel worthy of what I have and the people around me that I have, in my life and supporting me, and my husband, my parents, my siblings. So it's hard to go to those people sometimes and say, I don't feel I'm worthy of you. Because that just is a hard conversation to have with anybody. And it's just probably that you're struggling with something, and it's, it's just making you think about yourself. It's not so much the people around you aren't doing what they need to or aren't providing support. It's an inner issue that will take reflection. And sometimes talking out loud about it can help. But sometimes talking to a neutral individual can help too. There's a number of ways for, as humans, to work through inner issues or inner dialogue. I constantly talk to myself, and if I'm having a rough day or anything like that, if I'm really upset, like I have learned to try and step out of my emotions and really view what's going on to see if I should actually be mad at somebody, or if it's something that I maybe have done that I didn't realize in the heat of the moment and letting myself get frustrated and get upset, if it's something that I actually did to cause this person to react the way they did. So all in all, what I really wanted to get out, I've kind of ended up branching off into some other things, but what I really wanted to talk about is not just adoptees go through feeling this way. A lot of people do. The average person does. I think it impacts the adoptee community at a higher degree because the people who are supposed to, what is inherently ingrained in us that are supposed to love you, you feel don't love you because of what they did, for you no longer to be in their care. And at the end of the day, it's not always because they didn't love us. It could be a scenario of they loved us that much that they knew they needed to make the decisions they did. For me, I know that that's not the case. However, for a lot of situations, that is the case. A very young mom who's unable to properly care for a child. There's a multitude, homelessness, not wanting a child to grow up in extreme poverty as they are in, so they don't have the ability to raise the child. And what happens in some situations that I have noticed over the years is sometimes what will occur is somebody may be in extreme poverty or maybe really young, and they give the child up for adoption because they know that in their right mind they can't appropriately care for a child the way that they want to. So they, in their opinion, in that moment, they are doing what is best for the child. And if you really think about it, if you're not a child in that situation, it is probably what the best decision could be. However, as the child of that scenario, it's almost impossible for you to come to that conclusion if you're struggling with the idea. If you are at a better mindset and you're able to come at it, of course, I'm sure eventually people do come to at least somewhat of an understanding. But what will happen at times is there will be scenarios like that, and then later in life, the parents are in a better place, whether it be a financial issue or a stability issue or a substance abuse issue. Years later, they may be totally stable, totally sound financially, not using any substances, and be able to have more children or end up having more children and keeping those children. And if you know who your biological parents are, it is even harder for those children or adults or young adults to try and wrap their heads around the situation because they see them with the family that they have created, and they, it's human nature to be curious. So you think of the what ifs. What if they kept me? What if? And I want to say now, what ifs are not good for most people. When you do the what if game, you are almost setting yourself up, even if you're doing it in a way to try and make yourself feel better. Like if something really bad happens, you think of something worse that could happen, or if something, you're waiting for something and for a job instance, like you're waiting to hear back from a job and your phone rings and you're just automatically like, I know I'm going to get fired. I know I'm going to, or, I know I'm not going to get the job. I know I'm not going to get the job. And you get the call. If you don't get the job, I don't know if you fully prepared yourself, because it's still a letdown that you didn't get the job. And if you got the job, then yeah, it makes that excitement 20 times better, but you put yourself through like torture, almost inner torture, like just assuming the worst. And I know there are some mental health diagnoses that's just how your brain operates and how you're wired. which is why there's medication for people to, you know, combat that and help with those things. And that maybe wasn't the best analogy, but it really is just to show that some things people don't realize that is a constant struggle. I probably in recent years have gotten to the point where I'm not curious. I'm very sound in my story and what has happened in my emotions about it, but I struggled with feeling like I wasn't good enough for anybody in every aspect of life for a very long time. I mean, I did decently in school, but I still, you know, thought I'm going to be a failure. I did get adopted, and for the first few years, it was a constant, what am I going to do that's going to make them kick me out of their home? You know, when I got married, it even went into my marriage, like, what am I going to do wrong that's going to make him realize I'm not worth his time? With friendships, I mean, this was a battle that I probably within the last 2 or 3 years was able to overcome. And I wish I could make it easy for anybody, but really what I did was I just found my happy place within myself. I made sure I was surrounded by people who loved me and who were supportive of me. I, you know, put my all into everything and stop even allowing myself to think of the negative thoughts. Stop allowing myself, if I found myself starting to go down that thought process, I would stop it and I'd say, no, this isn't a productive conversation. This isn't a productive thought. Nothing good is going to come of this. And it took a long time to get there, obviously, but I did in time. And always finding somebody that you're comfortable with talking to, with being vulnerable with, helps. And, you know, it helps. Not everybody feels comfortable talking to the same person about the same situations. Sometimes going to another friend or another family member is a little bit easier. If you want a fresh set of opinions, if you're really struggling and you feel like the one person you always go to gives you the same answers over and over and you really just don't want that to happen, really think about who you are comfortable with to talk about that. And sometimes getting a new counselor just to talk about one thing can help. Sometimes just reaching out to that one person that you know has experienced something like you have can help. Does that always mean it's going to? No. But that's something as people that we always have to be prepared for. We have to be prepared when we are struggling to not get the answers right away, but to continue trying until you get the answers and the help that you need to alleviate any kind of rejection, stress, anxiety, depression. Keep fighting the fight. We will all come out on top eventually. It just takes time and patience. So with all of that being said, I hope you guys got something from this video today, and I hope you all have a good day, evening, or night wherever you are. I will see you next time. Bye, guys.